joining us. We're excited to bring you the next episode in our series, Mission Essential Conversations, where we focus on topics impacting the special operations community. For some context, Mission Essential is the largest provider of language services to the Defense Department. We've completed over 100,000 missions with 20,000 linguists in 83 countries. And 400 of those current personnel supporting special operations forces worldwide today. Today, we're exploring one linguist's journey from growing up in the Bronx to interpreting alongside Green Berets to then his commission in the United States Army. Hosting our conversation today, I'm joined by my colleague, John Duran. John is a true leader and mentor to so many people at Mission Essential, including myself. John has been with Mission Essential for 12 years. I directed the transition of 5,000 linguists in 40 languages and dialects, supporting 79,000 troops at 40 different locations and 15 different foreign countries and 8 United States, all simultaneously. Master Chief Duran spent a bunch of years in the Navy. I won't tell because that'll probably give us a clue to his age, in SIGINT and cryptologic activity. So with John as our panelist, Junaid Lughmani. We hope this conversation will inform and inspire you. And John, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce Junaid and host the discussion.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Appreciate it. I'm excited to be here as well. We have dealt a lot with the language community and have enjoyed it. And I always love sitting back and chatting with some of the folks who have worked with us, supported our military, and done great things. Junaid, he has done some great things. He's grown a lot, and I am excited to hear some of his stories and some of the things that he has accomplished while he's been with Mission Essential and serving the military abroad. He's done some great things, and I'm excited about that. But to get on to our panelist, he is was a linguist, and was born in New York, as Brian was talking about, raised in the Bronx, very educated through the University at Buffalo, graduated in 2008 with a bachelor's of administration in communications. And also some of his work history. He was with Mission Essential as an interpreter, cultural advisor for about 2.5 years. And following that, he joined the Army as an infantry officer for 4 years and is currently working with a financial services firm. It's dealing with sales at a veteran-owned brokerage firm. He has a lot of interests. His interests are in the form of sports. So anyway, I think that also, didn't they used to call you Joe?
I used to go by Joe. That's right, in Afghanistan. But as I transitioned, that's more so to protect the identity when you're operating in a foreign environment. And I still have family that's on the other side of the border. And so while I was in Afghanistan, I just went by Joe. It was just easier for everyone.
Yeah, it sure is. So why did you become a linguist? Talk to us about that. Because I mean, that's from where you came, what you saw. How did you get into the linguist business?
Well, it's funny. So I graduated from college. I'm a Bronx boy. I grew up. I wanted to be in sports, right? I wanted to be a sports journalist. I wanted to tell the stories of athletes. And so what happened is that I graduated in 2008 during the global financial crisis. And so there really wasn't, the economy had cratered here in the US, and I got an email from a recruiter. It was forwarded from a friend, and it happened to be from a then Terran Work. And so out of curiosity, I just responded to the email, and Terran and I exchanged a few emails. We got on the phone, and before you know it, I'm filling out paperwork and I'm taking the opportunity. But mainly the main motivation was, hey, I need an income to support my family. And I saw it as an opportunity to get them out of the Bronx, right? And I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and, it was going to help me take that leap for my family. And
right.
I couldn't imagine what would take place in the coming years.
Yeah, that's what we see a lot of times. When we process individuals, indoctrinate them, get them ready to deploy, we hear that story all the time. And, it kind of makes me smile because they don't even realize what's going to be on the other end once they get there and they start supporting and they start seeing the impact that they have with both the military and also the community itself. And, you talk to the folks who have been there and they come back through the processing system And that, we have a whole different story, very similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah, I certainly, like, again, I had no idea what to expect. I had gone to the region so many times throughout my life, but you're talking about going with the United States government. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you get there, all of a sudden you're immersed in military operations, international relations, diplomacy. And there were times where I had to pinch myself, just like, hey, this is reality. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was a fascinating experience. It was the best thing I had ever done in my life, and it changed the trajectory of my future.
Right. So did you have to do a lot of changing within the way it's a whole different type of a job. So when you went there and you had to take a specific role, was the transition difficult for you, or were you prepared to do that?
Really, it was just the adjustment to the military culture, right? Because Afghanistan, I'm from the Pakistani side of the border, but it's the same culture, right? And so I'm American born, but my blood is Pashtun. And so American born, Pashtun bred. So it's the same culture, but really it was getting to understand, it was an adjustment to getting to understand what the military was like. And
Hmm.
so, but once I got there, I was in a unique position because, I grew up with a foot in two worlds, both East and West. And so the Americans and the Afghans, they viewed me as their own. But it was just the transition and getting to understand what the military environment like that was the only part of the adjustment that I had to, get accustomed to.
Right, right. One of the things that I would like to hear is, you have a reputation around Mission Essential as being a go-getter, a lot of initiative. How did you leverage that and your cultural knowledge to be able to support the military in a way that was successful?
Well, one, you're much too kind. Look, I just got lucky. I was around some incredible people. The commanders that I worked with, that I worked for, they gave me a great leverage. They understood the importance of building a relationship with the Afghans. And so I saw that as an opportunity to make an impact. I could see the impact that we were having in Afghanistan, right? You're not reading about this stuff from thousands of miles away. You're
Right,
actually immersed in the environment. You're involved in the work. You're having a direct impact on a mission. And that's why I say the linguist is God is my witness. It is the best job that anyone could sign up for when you're in that type of environment.
right, right, right.
So it was, I saw the opportunity and I seized it. And it was meaningful impact. I saw that I had the opportunity to have meaningful impact on the mission, the relationships,
Right.
and on people's lives.
Well, speaking of the impact and the cultural knowledge that you had, can you share a couple of stories with us on maybe some of the human relief that we've seen out there in the past? Share a couple of those stories with us.
Well, certainly, and again, when they give you leverage to operate and use your gut instinct, right? Um, you know, my commanders involved me in the decision-making process. And so I thought to myself, wait a minute, if we're on these missions, we're on these routes, we pass a number of schools, and why don't we do missions where we hand out school supplies to children? And so what I did was I wrote a letter to these professional sports franchises in the NHL, Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL, and requesting school supplies. I was stunned at the response that we had gotten. And my commander was very receptive to the idea of distributing the aid, the school supplies to children. And it was, it's like a script for a movie. I can't believe we did that stuff, right? And
Right, right,
after a mission, we're going off into a village. We pull up into a school. You get out of the vehicle. Security is set up around the perimeter, and there's hundreds of kids that are circling around you, wanting to touch you, right? They see you as a superhero in the American military uniform. And
right.
you go into each classroom and you're handing out school supplies to these children that have nothing, that come from nothing. And that's impactful.
Right.
That stuff stays with you. But to have that experience so early in my professional career, I was the luckiest person in the world.
Right.
It opens your heart, your mind. It gives you an appreciation for what you have here in the States and what you grew up with, right? These children, they bear arms, right?
Mhm.
They bear arms. But we gave them a pen, we gave them a pencil, we gave them a notebook, right?
Mhm.
And that's how they were going to, they now had the tools and the resources to build their country. And it was,
Right.
when you have, I'm sorry.
It seems like what the cultural aspect that you bring to this equation is that you are cut from that cloth. You're able to be alongside the Afghans as well as the United States military. So you're almost like a conduit. And in some cases, they'll look at the military unit in leadership role, and then they look over at you, and you're able to bring that together. It seems like, in my opinion. So it is a very valuable asset as well as a responsibility that you had out there.
You're a human bridge. You know, I can't I can't emphasize that enough. You are a human bridge. There is a level of emotional intelligence that you must have in order to be effective in your role. You are bringing strangers from different corners of the world together for a mission. Lives are on the line.
Right.
And that is your responsibility to cultivate that relationship as a linguist. You are a human bridge.
Right. You talked a little bit about the leadership that you were fortunate to have surrounding you and being able to work with. Tell me a little bit about what, in your opinion, what made them successful and has an impact, so strongly upon yourself.
So the colonels that I worked for, and I was with the detainee operations unit, we were literally building it's like a startup now. I'm several years removed from the military, so my lingo has changed some, but it's like building a startup now when I think back to it, right? We built a command from the ground up. We were given a mission. These were the resources that you had, and you had to build this command. It was a high visibility project for the Department of Defense in detainee operations, which was central to the counterinsurgency doctrine. And my commanders, they understood the importance of relationship building. If we were going to be successful, we had to develop relationships with our Afghan partners. And because you have these two sides, again, that are coming from different parts of the world, they don't even speak the same language, but the linguist is there to provide that language, right? That language support enables the exchange of ideas and communication. And so, my commanders understood that importance, and that's why they understood the role of the linguist and empowered the linguist to do their jobs effectively.
Right. There were some specific stories that you've talked about in the past, some of the mosque stories. And I would really be interested in hearing a little bit about that.
Certainly. And again, one of my commanders, he got it. He understood. He had a good pulse on the circumstances, the situation on the ground. And so as we're working with the Afghan National Security Forces, we had a mosque on site at an Afghan military installation. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, if we're supposed to help, it's a capacity building mission where you help these ANA soldiers, you're building the ANA. I thought, if I'm working with these guys, I need to build a relationship. And so what I did was, one day I asked my colonel if it was okay, if I could go inside to a mosque and pray alongside them. He didn't hesitate, and he said, go.
Right.
And so when I went into the mosque, I could feel everyone's eyes were on me. And when you're standing alongside these people, right, they'd never been exposed to Americans outside of the war, where now you're humanizing the experience for them. Here I am, as someone from their culture, as an American, wearing the Army fatigues, praying alongside them. And I think it was powerful because it dispelled this nonsensical idea that Islam and America were at war with one another.
Right, right.
I think it's powerful.
You know, one of the things that it reminds me of is, one, it can only work because it was genuine. You know, that's absolutely the genuineness that's required. But two, just think of the trust that military leader had to have in you to be able to say, yes, go do that. Was there any specific type of special training that you had to have prior to that, to know your boundaries, you know, things of that nature? How did you get to that level?
Well, one, and you know, I don't want to sound like a company man here, but it's true, right? And so, like, when I was getting ready to go to Afghanistan and I went through with Mission Essential, I developed relationships with the people that were training me. Right. You know, it wasn't that, hey, yeah, let's sign this guy up here on the first flight to Afghanistan. It was a thorough process that I had to go through. Right. I had to go through a process in Baltimore, then in Augusta, then in Georgia, down in Columbus at Fort Benning. And then I was in Qatar for a bit. And so through every step of the way, you're getting guidance from these prior service members that are now on the Mission Essential team. And so you lean on their experience, on their counsel. And so I knew what I was getting into. So, you know, I had a good idea of what I was getting into and what I needed to do in order to make the unit effective. As a linguist, you have the opportunity to be a force multiplier. I was not just a linguist. I got involved in every essence of the operation. And, you know, I saw the opportunity. I was around the right people. The stars aligned. And it was a magical experience that ensued.
You know, and that's a good point you bring up, because a lot of times when we're bringing the individuals through the processing unit locations, we always try to identify who has been to Afghanistan before, who has experience, and therefore we identify those individuals, because you guys are the leaders out there in a lot of cases for at least a linguist group that the first day on the job, you don't know what you're doing. You have to be able to grow into that. And that's one of the things that you just talked about that we focus upon. And I'm glad to see it's working. And you did a great job out there, as well as teaching other linguists, you know, that follow behind you to be able to do the different things that they do.
You're the tip of the you're at the tip of the spear as a linguist. Mm-hmm. You are at the tip of the spear as a linguist. You, in many instances, you are the very face of the operation, and that shouldn't be taken lightly.
Right. And I mean, it's a dangerous situation you're doing out there, and it should never be taken lightly. And you're doing a great job doing that. Very, very good. So let's shift gears just a little bit. You got out of you departed Mission Essential, then you decided to go into the United States Army.
That's correct. And so again, when you're involved in such meaningful work, right? And I was 22 when I got there, and then I was 25 by the time I had left. And I got into healthcare for a bit, and I thought to myself, I'm like, wait a minute, like, you know, the work was important, but I was yearning for more, right? When you have when you have such life experiences as an interpreter in Afghanistan, when you're in the thick of U.S. foreign policy, and then now you're just another cog in the wheel in an organization here in the U.S., I just felt it was my calling to join the Army, and God willing, have the opportunity to go back to Afghanistan, and thankfully I did. But I felt compelled to serve. I wanted to get back in the works that I was involved in as a linguist, but this time I wanted to do it as a soldier.
Right.
And, that was quite an experience. That was quite an experience, right? It's a lot different than when you're going through basic training. Let's just say it was a little different down in Baltimore when I went through with Mission Essential. They really yell at you.
Yes. So when you were out in uniform, did you run across some linguists from Mission Essential?
I'm going to tell you something. It was mind-boggling. Like when I was in Afghanistan, I mean, on the missions that we went on, I mean, they were so confused, right? The Afghans were so confused. is he the linguist? I'm like, no, I'm the platoon commander here, right? I'm the platoon, my guys. And so that was funny, but I did come across some linguists and they were surprised. It is surprising. Usually people do it the other way, right? Where they're a service member and then they go do the contracting gig. But I did it, I did it the other way around, right? Where I was there as a linguist first, and then I joined, and I joined it, and I was an infantry officer, and so it's a little different. But again, it's quite a unique story and experience.
Right, right. Well, good. Is there anything in particular that you would like to discuss that we haven't discussed?
You guys ask. You guys ask, right? I mean, I've done this I was there for 2.5 years. I was in the military for 4 years. I mean, there's a lot that happened in between in that time, right? And there's so many lives that you get to impact. My military commanders, they treated me differently. They understood. A lot of the company commanders that I had worked with, I was their age. I went in a little older when I went through my training in the military. And, I bought a lot of credibility with a lot of folks too, because it's like, hey, this guy was already there, right? Not only is he of the culture of the people, but he was already there. And so, even in the Army, my commanders, they leaned in on my experience and asked me to, provide perspectives and share my insights on Afghanistan with the soldiers that would soon be deploying.
Right, right. Very, very good. I guess one of the last questions that I have is that, I'm a practitioner of project management and looking always to do things better. In your opinion, what are the things that Mission Essential does? One, that does things, we do things right, that we should continue to do, and also what do you say that we could work on to be able to have a better product for our customer?
So on the first part, I felt I had incredible support all the way through. It started with my recruiter in Taryn.
Yes.
Even when I got to country, she kept in touch, sent me emails,
Wonderful.
Encouraging me to continue, providing support, that emotional support that you need, right? And, but all the way through with my site managers, whoever it may be, whenever I came across anyone that worked for Mission Essential, I knew I had support. The second thing I'm going to tell you is this experience as a linguist, I don't care what school you went to. I don't care what background you come from. You can't buy this experience. And so my word of advice to Mission Essential, I would go to UCLA. I would go to Harvard. I would go to Yale. I would go to any institution, right, that you in this country. Identify the people that come from these backgrounds or wherever there is conflict. Right. And recruit those kids to, play the role of interpreter, and they will jump on the opportunity. Because right. I'm going to tell you something.
You're absolutely right. You just never know what anybody is doing currently that would change their mind to be able to want to serve their country, to be able to change the life of the individuals in the theater that they're working at. You're absolutely right, and we sure appreciate that.
John, I'm going to tell you something. I'm a kid from the Bronx, graduated from college, and I'm thinking, hey, I want to be on ESPN. And then I connected with Taryn. And from there, my life was never the same. And today, my goals in life have evolved such where I believe I can have meaningful impact based on past experience and what I want to do for the future in helping push the world forward, specifically in that region of Afghanistan and Pakistan. And it's because of my experience as a linguist and then as a soldier. But it all goes back to Mission Essential and the opportunity they gave me to go to Afghanistan as a linguist.
Well, thank you very much for that service that you've done, both for Mission Essential, to serve our customers, the military, and also serving in the military. We thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts, and We appreciate all the leadership you provide and providing and still providing. So with that, thank you very much, and I will turn it back over to Brian.
Thank you, Jim.
Wow. Thanks, Junaid and John. What a great story. A would-be Bronx sports writer transformed into a human bridge, bringing people together.
Yes.
I can tell you
my business school essay.
That's right. The role that Junaid, that you performed, it can't be measured by standard metrics, but as we've talked about in previous discussions and webinars, the trust you built, the cultural authenticity that a teammate like you brings to our team, the commitment to being an integral part of the solution, not just being the linguist on the team, but being part of the team performing that role. I mean, it all just, it comes together to tell a story of an individual, yourself, who's been committed to a higher calling, which I think is fantastic. So as JD already mentioned, thank you so much for everything you've done and continue to do, and thank you for your service. And John, thanks for hosting this discussion.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I sure appreciated chatting with him.
Yeah. No, I mean, your insightful questions were wonderful, and your leadership here at Mission Central continues to inspire me. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you. And Junaid, I look forward to hopefully seeing you again next time, as hopefully a Sox-Yankees game during a season where the Red Sox aren't a horrible disaster.
Oh my God, you guys are killing us. Like the quality of the pitching with the Red Sox, it's like, come on now, it's so bad. It's not even a rivalry. It's an insult to call it a rivalry.
I know. I can't believe that I'm going to let that get recorded on this.
We got to quadruple. It's the Yankees. It's the Red Sox quadruple A team.
All right. Thank you.
Well, and thank you all for tuning in. We hope these discussions continue to inform and inspire you. We hope you join our next session as we continue to focus on topics that are impacting the special operations community. So stay safe out there and stay healthy. We'll see you next time.